housing crisis in Canada is one of those challenges we like to call a wicked problem, where there's no sort of one set solution. There's no silver bullet that's going to make everything better. There's no thing that's going to fix it. We have to look at it from a holistic view.
Too often, I think we're used to thinking in silos. We think about single problems, and we generate solutions that might be really great for that single problem, but right now we know we're dealing with complex problems. We know we're dealing with things that are all interconnected.
It makes it very, very difficult to solve it in traditional ways. So systemic thinking has been a nice way to try and package up this complex problem.
Are we creating the type of neighborhoods that will produce the long-term outcomes that we want?
As a society, what are we trying to achieve collectively around housing? And how do we align those different perspectives to really start to move the needle on what we need to do in the housing space?
I think the future of equitable and sustainable housing is something for everybody. Everybody has a place that they can access as a home.
It's not just more housing and better infrastructure, but it's healthier, thriving communities over time, not just for this generation, but looking at intergenerational equity and justice and what does that mean?
I think coming back to this being a complex problem, there are many different variables and many different levers that affect the outcomes, and understanding how those are interconnected is very, very important.
Just these systemic effects that we never have thought of, but when talking to experts within municipalities and others working outside them highlight these things, you're like, oh yeah, of course, I can totally see how that would happen.
When you start to look at the problem on a much wider basis, a lot of those assumptions you walked in with maybe don't hold true. And it's been really interesting to try and understand and be open to these other parts of the system, this complex system that we're dealing with, and see, well, the initial thing that we walked in with thinking, like, does that hold true? Or actually, are there other factors that are more important for us to consider?
To get to transformative solutions, which is what we need right now. We need to be looking at that end state vision of where we need to be going. And that's not any one person's vision. That needs to be the vision that includes everyone if we're going to design solutions that are just and equitable and allow everyone to thrive.
I hope that this work will shed a light on the necessary trade-offs and prioritization that governments are doing on behalf of the citizens.
Who are we involving in decision making? How are we making those decisions? Not just who's involved, but who should be involved. These are sorts of questions that I'm hoping this project will stimulate.
The end outcome from all this is, how do we better equip municipalities and their infrastructure systems to accommodate more sustainable growth?
And I think what we're uncovering is there's so many other interrelated elements to that it's not just an infrastructure issue.
What are the levers that we can lean against that are going to have good positive impacts in the system and address some of the pain points that all the different stakeholders are feeling, but collectively to make the system better, to improve the overall ecosystem around this, we have to be collaborating between these different groups.